What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Respect Coin. I am your host, Michael Bolling, and we, as always, are presented by Wind Creek Chicago Southland. Are you ready for your winning moment? Find it at Wind Creek Chicago Southland, where the action never stops. Play the hottest table games, enjoy the newest slots, and celebrate big jackpots at Wind Creek. There's a win waiting for you around every corner. We've had a little bit of a break. I took a quick vacation. It wasn't that quick, and I needed it. It was great. No computer. Spent a lot of fun time out of town, just unplugging, and now I'm back ready for football. Obviously, we have a lot of sports still in motion. The W is hot. MLB is coming down to the stretch runs. We are almost to September, and NFL preseason has begun. So we're heading into a really fun part of the sports calendar. Everybody's coming back from the fall and winter sports, and it's football season. So you're probably getting ready for your fantasy football drafts if you haven't drafted already. And we're looking at a lot of different things as it pertains to training camp, preseason, and week one in just a few short weeks away. Super pumped. Agenda for today. I have some news I want to share. I'm going to talk about my baseball future bets that are coming down the pipe. And then we're going to talk about the Bears win total. We're going to go through the schedule. We're going to look at when they're favored. We're going to look at when they're underdogs. We're going to look at the matchups. I'm going to give out a win total bet for the 25-26 season and our beloved Chicago Bears. But first, I want to get to some news. I've done 30 episodes of Respect Coin. Shout out to everyone who has listened, subscribed, liked, given me feedback in person, online, whatever it is. I thoroughly appreciate it. It's been really fun. Really looking forward to what now feels like season 2, getting back to the fall, and really taking this show to the next level. So I will be incorporating a co-host in the coming weeks. I'm not going to reveal it because that's what a tease is, but really excited. Again, really going to focus on betting the Chicago market with a major emphasis on our Chicago Bears going week to week. Obviously, these episodes will be dropping on Fridays, so we'll be looking at each Bears game with a little bit of a microscope. And when I say microscope, it's not to give you hot takes. It's not to, make any news. It's just to share the information that I have that might be useful to you and help you make some informed wagers throughout the season. So we're going to have fun again like we did last season, but really excited to add a new element to Respect Coin. So be on the lookout for that news coming soon. All right, so talked about the baseball futures bets. Let's check in on them. I'm really excited and equal parts kind of nervous. So first, we have a Luis Robert Jr. and Pete Crow Armstrong stolen base parlay. That's $50 to win $175 on DraftKings. Luis Robert last night became the 4th player in White Sox history to swipe 100 bags and hit 100 home runs. So he is past his total. He is now at 31 stolen bases out of 30. And PCA is at 29 stolen bases out of 30. The Cubs hit the road this weekend to play the Cardinals. I am hoping by the time my next taping of this podcast, this money will be in my account. Just need 1 stolen base from PCA. Feeling really, really good about this bet. On the other side, we did have a home run parlay, and that was Seiya Suzuki and Miguel Vargas. Seiya Suzuki needed to hit 20 home runs. If you've been watching, he's got 27. He had over 20 before the All-Star break. Miguel Vargas is the scary part. This is what makes me nervous. He is currently sitting at 13 home runs. We need 15. We need 2 more. And he currently sits on the 10-day IL with an oblique injury. And if you've ever played baseball or watched baseball, when you hear the word oblique, you duck. You cover your ears It's never what you want to hear because the oblique is something that is extremely tough to get back right, especially at this point in the season. It's retroactive to last week, so hopefully he can get back onto the field in the next couple weeks because we need 2 home runs, and that sets us apart from winning a $100 bet and cashing for $375. So fingers crossed, if you tailed, we need Miguel Vargas back on the field. We need 2 more home runs, and we will get the money for this bet. So now that we got the futures out of the way, I'm going to spend the majority of this show discussing the Bears win total, their schedule in general, how we're feeling as Bears fans, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive on this weekend's preseason game. The Bears will host the Miami Dolphins for joint practice today. I'm filming this on Friday. And we will have a game at Soldier Field versus the Dolphins on Sunday. So before we get into the preseason, there has been some news that I'll discuss a little bit later, but let's just take a look at the 25-26 Chicago Bears schedule, which kicks off on Monday, September 8th against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. Wild to have the Bears in primetime to start the season, but if you're out of the Chicago market and you're listening to this, just remember that there's only a handful of teams that draw more than the Bears, whether they're bad or not. I personally hate when they're on primetime because it gives the entire country an opportunity to watch, in the past, what felt like a lot of nonsense. But I believe in Ben Johnson. The things that I've heard from people like 𝗪𝗛 𝗵𝗶, who is host of the Charter and at Halas Hall every day for training camp, is the vibes are different. You've probably read it on Twitter. You've probably seen things online. Any of your favorite beat writers or podcasters or reporters have been saying the same thing. The vibe has changed at Halas Hall, and Ben Johnson has injected not only confidence into this team, but also a level of accountability that I don't think we've seen in the last handful of years. So let's look at the schedule again. Like, we start the season with Minnesota at home at Soldier Field on Monday Night Football. But I've looked at the odds on DraftKings. DraftKings has odds for every single Bears game of the season, and the Bears, I believe, are only favored in 5 games at this point. Their win total, kind of all over the place. And a little thing I want to tell you about win totals is, in the past, you would get one number. So a few years ago, the Bears' win total number was over or under 8.5. Now the sportsbooks are allowing you to bet in a range of all of those numbers. So it could be over 5.5, over 6.5, over 7.5, and allow you to customize what bet you'd like to take. That's the same on DraftKings and FanDuel. So don't feel like you're tied in or locked into one number. Definitely use your line shopping ability. Look around on books. Make sure you're getting the right number for you and the right number for the bet. So again, I mentioned the Bears are only favored at this moment in 5 games this season. I'm taking a look at the win totals now, and to get as close to even money as possible, on DraftKings, you can get over 7.5 for -170. You can get over 8.5 for +115. On FanDuel, you can get over 7.5 at -135. You can get over 8.5 at +125. So I'll go through the odds a little more at the end, but in terms of the schedule, I want to make sure people are aware. Just because Ben Johnson is here has not affected what Vegas thinks about the Chicago Bears. Could they exceed expectations? Of course. Could they get a bump from the first-year head coach in his first season? Of course. But Vegas is going to call it like it is. It's going to be straight up and down. And if they're only favored in 5 games at the moment, that means that we're going to need a lot of surprises if we're moving into that over 7.5, over 8.5 total. And let me remind you that the Bears are projected to have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL in 2025. Strength of schedule ranking is in the top 3. So I don't know what we did with the schedule makers to deserve this after a 5-win season. and after a 10-game losing streak last year. So just know that this is going to be tough sledding for the Bears, and Vegas is very much aware. They're tied with the Lions for the second hardest schedule, only behind the New York Giants. Whew. Tough scene for the New York Giants. They weren't very good last year either, and they apparently have the hardest schedule in the league. So the Bears' opponents combined for 165 and 124 record in 2024. Honestly, this is a tough one because the Bears are scheduled to play 10 teams that made the playoffs in 2024. That's outrageous. Like, the entire more than half the schedule is going to be against playoff teams. So we'll see. This is going to be a tough season, but we'll go game by game, and we'll get started by discussing week one. So week one, we're talking about the Vikings and the Bears. And I'm looking now at the odds. The odds have ping-ponged all offseason. I think it opened at Vikings -2.5. Then it flipped to the Bears. Now it's back to the Vikings. So currently as it sits on DraftKings, the Bears are 1.5-point underdogs at home with an over-under of 43.5. Because of the reasons why people are always on the Bears. Obviously, this is a market that has legal sports betting. We are one of the fan bases that is loyal until no bounds. We have blind faith in the team every year. I vaguely remember a stat that was saying that the Bears haven't gone over their win total more than twice in the last 20 years. So take everything with a grain of salt. I am a big Bears fan. I really do love the team. I have watched this team with rose-colored glasses for a long time, and I promised myself after last season that I would not do that again. So I'm going to call it how I see it. I'm just going to be very honest. Week one, I think the energy in the building at Soldier Field, everyone getting back, and these are things that we've said before, right? When they hosted the Packers in the 100-year celebration. Obviously, last season they had maybe one of the worst first halves I've ever seen, but somehow were able to win the game. Thank you, 𝗰𝗏 𝗟𝗏. So just because they're playing at home on Monday Night Football should not be a reason why you blindly bet the Bears in week one. And I'm going to talk about this often throughout this episode because that's one thing that I'm trying to get better at. And if you're a Bears fan listening to this, I heard someone say a few weeks ago, if you just did the emotional hedge and you bet against the Bears for the last 5 or 6 years, you would be up so much money instead of blindly betting the Bears because you think they're going to win because you're a fan. So, again, take everything with a grain of salt. But I will say this. I do think the Ben Johnson effect will help the Bears in week one. No Jordan Addison for the Vikings. That's a huge deal. He had a couple of huge games against the Bears in his short career. We have Justin Jefferson dealing with a little bit of a hamstring issue, and you have a new quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. Now, full disclosure, I root for Michigan. I'm a Michigan fan, big fan of J.J. McCarthy, and do absolutely wish him well in the NFL, except if he's playing the Bears. Now, a lot of people may be up and down on J.J. McCarthy, missed his whole first season with injury, but allowed him to really understand Kevin O'Connell, get into the playbook, understand what's going on, and now he's playing and he will be the week one starter. So I do believe that the Bears defense will be up to the challenge. I do think the Bears defense with Dennis Allen can show J.J. McCarthy a lot of different things that could confuse him. So I will take the Bears to win in week one. If you're betting, taking the 1.5 doesn't hurt. If Justin Jefferson ends up not playing, this line could definitely move. But again, remember, the Vikings defense was very good last year. With Sam Darnold last year, they won, I think, 14 games or 13 games, something like that. So this is a good football team. This isn't a team that is a pushover, and the Bears have a lot to prove. So my personal stance, I'm going to go with the Bears winning in week one. But I would be a liar if I sat here and told you that I would be shocked if they lost. Obviously not shocked. This is a situation where J.J. McCarthy, making his first start in the NFL, but 𝗂𝗏𝗶𝗹 making his first start in a new system. So a lot of things might be equal here. Week 2, the Bears will take on the Detroit Lions on the road. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time with this one. Not going to say that the Bears are going to win that game. I think the fact that Dan Campbell gets to play against his old offensive coordinator is going to give the Lions a lot of juice. And I think top to bottom, the Lions are a better football team. We have given the Lions fits, especially on the road, haven't been able to close games. So would I be surprised if the Bears pulled off an upset? I guess not, but I just don't see it happening. So currently as it stands, we've got the Bears at 1-1. That takes us to week 3 against the Cowboys at home, the return of 𝗦𝗏 This is going to be a homer pick for me. I'm sorry, I can't. I hate the Cowboys. I don't hate 𝗦𝗏. I think he's a great defensive coordinator, which does give me a little pause. He knows where the bodies are buried at 𝗗liche Hall and Soldier Field. He knows he got to watch 𝗂𝗏𝗶𝗹, up close and personal before he was fired last year. There's going to be a lot of pride involved, but again, not going to be taking the Cowboys to win. At this point, I'm going to have the Bears at 2-1 heading into week 4. And week 4 is a doozy. The Bears hit the road for Vegas, 3:25 game in Sin City. I will be in attendance. That's Sunday, September 28th. Can't wait to get out to Vegas with the boys. Mix it up. The last time I went there, had a blast. I told everyone who would listen to me to bet the Bears -9.5. What happened? They won by 10. It was a really good time. I'm hoping to replicate that. So, entering the bye week for the Bears, I have them somehow 3-1. Is that outrageous to think about? Probably. But the schedule gets really extremely tough after that. I could very much see a scenario where they're 2-2, and I would be happy with that. So right now I have them at 3-1. They come off the bye week extended because they play on Monday night against the Washington Commanders. We owe them one. Will that take over? Hard for me to say at this point. 𝗂𝗏𝗶𝗹's going home. There's some narratives involved with that. But I do think the Commanders will have too much for the Bears. Yet again, I hope this doesn't resolve in another Hail Mary. I don't think my body could handle that. I would really probably end up in a shell or laying underneath my bed or something. I couldn't deal with that again. That was the worst feeling ever. So we have them at 3-2 heading into the game at home against New Orleans. This is Sunday, October 19th. The Saints are in a transition right now. New quarterback, new coach. Don't think they'll be a pushover necessarily, but I do think this is a situation where the Bears can win at home. I think the crowd will be raucous, obviously, as always. So having them as a dub against the Saints. And then the schedule gets tough for a couple weeks. They hit the road for Baltimore on the 26th. Then they head to Cincinnati on November 2nd. I think both of those are losses. The AFC North is going to be really, really good this year. The Ravens should be Super Bowl contenders. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to fly under the radar a little bit, if you can even believe that, with someone like Joe Burrow throwing a Ja'Marr Chase. But somehow that defense gets overlooked. I think they made some improvements. So I'm looking at those two games as losses for the Bears. So let's tally it up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is, so it's looking at 4-4. 4 wins to that point. They will host the Giants, New York Football Giants, at Soldier Field on November 9th. That feels like a win to me, but New York's defense is extremely good. They got better, obviously, with my Abdul Carter from Penn State. The defense is solid. What they're going to be doing at quarterback at that point in the season, who knows? That will be week 10. So I like a W for the Bears in that one. The next week they hit the road in Minnesota, a tough place to play, a place that has given us fits in the past. So not feeling like a win on the 16th in week 11 against Minnesota. We come off of that game, though, Sunday, November 23rd, right before Thanksgiving, with a home game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, he will return to Chicago. I'm going to call this one a win. Who cares if Aaron Rodgers is even playing? Obviously, it would be fun to beat him one more time at Soldier Field, but never going to bet on a team, or never going to say a team that has Aaron Rodgers on it is going to win. Absolutely not. No, thank you. So taking that as a W, even though the Steelers are going to be very, very good. Again, I said the AFC North, really solid, so could be in for a rude awakening, but I just won't be putting my money on that. I'll take a look at the odds there just to give some reference. Right now, the Bears are favored by 2.5 points. So feeling all right about that one. And then a quick turnaround, Sunday game on the 23rd, then Black Friday game at the Link against the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Not happening. I don't think the Bears are going to go into Lincoln Financial and beat the reigning Super Bowl champs. So that's looking like a loss. Week 14, right after you play on Black Friday, you get a little bit of an extra rest, but at Green Bay, it's a noon game on Fox. Love that. Don't need a primetime game for this. There is a matchup flexed potentially on the 20th against the Packers. So normally, and this is part of the season that I'm feeling like the home game matters, even though the Bears won on the road last year to end the season. The Bears currently are 3.5-point underdogs in this one. I'm going to chalk this one up to an L. I would love nothing more to be wrong. Anytime you can get to beat the Packers is a good day for any Bears fan. So not feeling great about the road game. But in Week 15, the Bears will take on the Browns, and they're currently 7-point favorites in that one. So feeling like a win. Who knows who's going to be playing quarterback for the Browns at that point? They have 5 quarterbacks that I think could be in contention at that point of the season. Who knows who starts well, if injuries, what have you. So coming off of the Browns game, another matchup, like I mentioned, with the Packers. This one's at home, game time TBD. The only reason why schedule makers would leave that TBD is because they may expect that the Bears could surprise, and if that's a game that matters in regards to the division, could get flexed into prime time. I will say, based on the odds, the Bears are only 1.5-point underdogs at home. Really do like that, like this being later in the season. So I will give the Bears a victory in Green Bay. And then they hit the road to face the 49ers. Never an easy place to play. Really big house of horrors for us last season. Not feeling great about that one. But to put a bow on the season, another flex game. The Bears are playing the Detroit Lions in Week 18 at home. Ben Johnson gets his former team at home. When I think of a theme for this season for the Bears, I really do feel like this could be the way the Lions kind of snuck up on people before they started to win a ton of games. They played a Week 18 game against the Packers and kept them out of the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be the same scenario. I think the Lions will firmly solidify themselves as one of the playoff teams, potentially top seed in the NFC. But I think the Bears will have something to play for, a little motivation at home, obviously, with the narrative. Could they be staring at a wild card spot? Depends on how it all shakes out. Not confident that this is the season they make the playoffs, but if they do surprise, this Week 18 game is going to be a lot of fun. Could be a scenario where Detroit may be resting their starters. I don't know if Dan Campbell is even like that. Probably not, but I'm going to flip a coin here, and the coin's always going to land on the Chicago Bears. So give them a win in Week 18 against the Lions. It'll be the second year in a row that they win their final game against the division opponent. So it could be fun. So let's re-rack it. Let's see how many wins we've got. I said win versus the Vikings. Nothing versus the Lions. Win versus the Cowboys. Win versus the Raiders. Loss to the Commanders. Win versus the Saints. Loss Ravens, Bengals. Win versus the Giants. Loss versus Vikings. Win versus Steelers. Loss versus Eagles. Loss versus Packers. Win versus Browns. Win versus Packers. Loss versus Niners. Win versus Lions. So I found 9 wins. Are they correct? Probably not. But If you're looking at it objectively, again, I said they're favored in 5 of the 18 games. We found some narratives that we liked that could potentially sway this one way or another. So, having said all that, do I think that it's a lock that they win 9 games? Absolutely not. But what this does for me is tells me I need to be in the 7.5, 8.5 range for wins. If you're going to parlay with this win total with something else, I would say the Bears are probably, and I've been wrong before, but probably safest around the over 6.5 win total. If you're feeling like you want to bet the other side, I don't necessarily see this team winning 10 or 11 games. So if you want to use an under in a parlay, under 10.5 feels good. Under 9.5 is minus 220. That's probably a little bit better value, but you're taking on some more risk. Again, I'm not someone who thinks they're going to win 10 games this season. I would be thrilled if they won 9, and I would be happy, I guess, if they won 8 games because that's showing improvement, heading in the right direction, all that jazz. So I think the odds are probably best in your favor and best value if you take the Bears to win over 7.5 games on FanDuel. It's minus 135 right now. Plenty of reasons I discussed. If they exceed expectation, you already have cashed your bet, but this is not putting a ton of pressure on your bankroll, expecting them to win games that they're not favored in. They're only favored in 5 games on the schedule. I was able to find 9 potential wins. We'll need some luck. We'll need some bounces to go our way, and we'll need Ben Johnson to really elevate this team in Caleb Williams' second season. So the safest over-under bet in the win total for the Bears, in my opinion right now, as it stands, is over 7.5 wins on FanDuel. It's minus 135, and it's a play that I will be backing myself, and I'm not going to do too much. I'm not going to be the person that tells you they're going to win 10 games. I was that person last season, and I was very wrong. So over 7.5 wins for the Bears feels like the bet to make because I think that that's going to be right around the line that they'll hit based on their schedule. All right, so we talked about the win total. We went through every game. Let's quickly discuss what's coming up on Sunday. The Bears will take on the Dolphins. Right now, the Bears are minus 3 at home to take on the Dolphins, which is a very interesting line, in my opinion, because we learned today, on Friday, that Ben Johnson will be sitting out 9 starters on offense and 9 starters on defense, including Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams will not play in the preseason opener against the Dolphins. He will not play, I repeat, in the preseason game against the Dolphins on Sunday. Let's talk about the lines. 84% of the money right now is on the Bears minus 3. That could change as this news trickles out. 58% of the bets, however, the public is on the Dolphins plus 3. 59% of the money is on the Dolphins money line. That's at plus 145 on DraftKings. But 57% of the bets, the public, is on the Bears money line. Obviously, this number is going to be inflated. Bears fans are going to bet the Bears no matter what. And then finally, for the total, 68% of the money is on the under, 36.5 currently, but 66% of the bets are on the over, 36.5. Kind of interesting to me. I don't think the over is a very good play now, knowing that the starters won't be involved for the Bears. Not sure what's going on too much with the Dolphins. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but I can't imagine Tua Tagovailoa is going to be playing in the preseason. So you could see a lot of backups throughout this entire game. Probably some shoddy quarterback play. But I do think, objectively, this is advantage Bears. I think the line is where it's supposed to be. Tyson Bagent, QB2, someone that the Bears don't have to worry about necessarily. He started games in the NFL. Ben Johnson has said some good things about him in this preseason training camp. So I like the Bears. Will I take them minus 3? Probably not, just given the fact that by the time the game is ending, who knows what's going to happen. So I'm willing to lay the juice on Bears money line. I'm willing to put Bears money line in a parlay. But I think the play here for me, following the money, under 36.5 for this game. I could see there being a little bit of scoring early, but a massive drop-off in the second half. I think the defenses on both sides have some talent that could push back against offensive play. So for the preseason game, I like the Bears money line. I'm going to avoid the spread just in case the backups and the third and fourth stringers blow it up. But I also really like the under 36.5 points at Soldier Field on Sunday as the Bears host the Dolphins in their first preseason game. So that's all I got for this week. We went through the Bears win total. We went through the preseason game, and we talked a little bit about our futures bets that were placed before the MLB season. Be on the lookout in the coming weeks. We're going to talk about player props for the Bears. We're going to talk about season futures, their Super Bowl odds, which obviously is pretty much out of the picture at this point, but odds to make the playoffs, prop bets throughout the season, and both DraftKings and FanDuel are offering tons and tons of specials for each individual team. So we'll look at what they have for our Chicago Bears as we inch closer to week 1, Bears hosting the Vikings at Soldier Field. As always, I'm your host, Michael Bolling, and always remember to respect the coin. We will see you next week, and let's get some money on this preseason game. Peace, y'all.